The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
With Chris Snead, who's in for Jamie this morning, and Jeff McGuire, I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today. It is Wednesday, the day the work gets done. I'm sure there'll be some getting done today, although it seems like that there'll still be kind of the continued kind of shut down, kind of just everybody's trying to catch their breath a little bit.
Yeah, I'm done till the second win.
Are you done to win?
Second,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
You got any big plans this afternoon?
Man, I got a whole lot of nothing.
A whole lot of nothing.
That's not true.
I'm not going to start that till about 1 o'clock.
You're going to start that until about 1 o'clock?
You can't start that until 1 o'clock because you've got a thing from noon to 1.
Yeah.
Are you here again from noon to 1 today?
Kind of a glutton for punishment.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if that's good for me or bad for the listeners.
Yeah, well, we'll let them decide.
Well, you'll have breakfast by then.
So where do the Cowboys stand in your mind in the NFC? Are they fourth?
I would probably put them fourth because they're going to be better than whatever NFC South team wins that league, that conference division.
Okay, so who do you put first?
I think this is 1A and 1B right now, and it fluctuates week to week.
Between San Francisco and Philadelphia?
Yeah, right. And it really, I guess you probably have to default to San Francisco since they beat Philly at Philly. I think you kind of have to go with San Fran, then Philly, then Detroit, and then Dallas.
Who's the better quarterback though between the two?
I think it's kind of a wash. It really is a wash. I think the quarterbacks. Okay, Hurts can be really, really dynamic and athletic, but he turns the ball over so much. I mean, either by fumble or interception. I mean, it's funny. Dak just gets banged on for his interceptions. Jalen Hurts turns the ball over a ton.
Mm-hmm. And Brock Purdy did this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, Brock, throw up somebody wearing your uniform, maybe just once. But Jared Goff can be really he's when he hooks up with Amon-Ra Brown, he's really good. He's got weapons, but it seems he seems to get away from the game plan a lot, and that's and I think when Jared Goff tries to improvise, if read 1, read 2 is not available to him, he's a progression guy. He just he's not a guy that that makes lemonade out of lemons. So Jalen can. I think Goff tries to force the ball into tight windows too often.
Well, Detroit tried to cough that game up to the Vikings on.
Yeah,
my days have run together here, but they scored to take the lead at 30-21. Then they had an interception. Then they had to punt the 3 and out, and then Minnesota gets a field goal. They kind of had a drive that stalled, and it made it 30-24 with plenty of time left. Then the Lions come back and punt, and so they've got the ball, and Minnesota's driving, and it kind of looks like they're going to make a run of it. They get the ball to the 44, and then there's a pass that's down the middle, and it's intercepted, and that's the end of the ball game. But if Detroit had lost that game, then and they had lost out, and Minnesota had won out, they could still lose that division.
Yeah.
So they're not this bastion of power at 11-4.
Yeah, they're not, and they are a team that plays much better at home than they do on the road too. So I mean, do I think the Cowboys are going to win this weekend? I absolutely do. Do I think they're going to improve their lie? I don't think so, because they took that out of their own hands.
Yeah, they did.
And now they've got to have Philly lose a game that they're not going to lose. Although I'm telling you, Philly did their dead level best to try to give the Giants that game. Mm-hmm. And
now they're going to play them. They're going to play them again here.
And I was
at the end, the last game of the season. They'll play them. And then this week they have a little bit easier contest. They play the Cardinals.
Yeah, I was watching that game with the Eagles-Giants game with my two brother-in-laws, my nephew and my son-in-law, and I turned to one of them at one point. I said, "The Eagles are going to lose one of these two games to the Giants," and my brother-in-law, who's a fan of what do they call them, the Commanders, he's like, well, we need them to, kind of they don't strike me. The Eagles are not infallible. And, but, let's look over here. Jalen Hurts got 13 interceptions on the year. And, they're still talking about him, not the way they were before, but, mildly. A couple of weeks ago, he was mildly in the MVP conversation.
Are you, from the AFC standpoint, are you all in on Baltimore now?
Yeah, I think they're far and away. Mm-hmm. I think they would. I mean, they've been tested, and they had a little stretch where they lost 2 out of 3 games, but they're pretty well established as the cream of the crop in the AFC right now.
And you might have
the AFC. Miami is kind of they're knocking on the door, but those guys, they seem to just be.
Yeah, because you could have made a case that what if Dallas beats them? Then they're 10-5.
Exactly.
And so you look at the AFC, which we talked about this a little bit yesterday. If you'd have said a month ago, you'd have said the AFC was a much stronger league or conference than the NFC, and that the likely Super Bowl champion was going to come out of the AFC. But you can't say that now because you look at Baltimore; they're clearly the top team. Miami is a step down from them, and then after that, what is it? It's Cleveland because they're at 10-5 and nobody's really talking about them, and they don't have Deshaun Watson.
And yeah, that's the thing. They're 10-5, and Joe Flacco. I mean, how many guys have taken snaps under center for the Browns this year? And they're 10-5. I mean, imagine if the same scenario had happened to the Cowboys. It'd be 5-10, if that, or so many other teams. I mean, that team, love them or hate them. I mean, but it's a pretty well put together team. It's a pretty well coached team in Cleveland this year, and they just keep chugging along no matter who's taking snaps under center. Because, I mean, what is it? Flacco's a 4th different quarterback for them this year.
Yeah, at least.
Oof.
Yeah.
And they're getting it done.
And they're getting it
done.
They're getting it done.
And then meanwhile, the Jets are over there like, what do we got to do to have some of that luck, man? I mean, we got all these players, and they can't get out of their way. They can't find the rear end with either hand.
Right. No, and you talk about a road team versus a home team, and their schedule is a lot different. But Kansas City is 4-4 at home. I'll be interested to see how many of the new bandwagon fans decide to, this isn't such a fun ride anymore.
It's pretty fun when they're always going to the Super Bowl and winning all the games.
When it's a little
getting their
when it's a little bumpy.
The funny thing is that the nice young ladies, and the kids running around. How many kids got a Kansas City Chiefs hat or a jersey for Christmas, and they're rocking them. And these stores here in town, Texas Tech stores selling Kansas City stuff, and I was like, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, I like Kansas City too, but come on, man.
Well, the Chiefs have, listen to who they've lost to at home this year. They lost in the opening game at home to Detroit. They lost at home to Philadelphia. They lost at home to Buffalo. And then the bad loss was Christmas Day in losing to the Raiders, especially as poorly as the Raiders quarterback played. I mean, he didn't complete a pass after the first quarter.
Yeah. I mean, what is 9?
And Mahomes, they just couldn't protect him.
Yeah,
at all.
They've got so many issues, and I mean,
they do.
It just tells you how. I mean, in a way, it tells you how good their defense is and how good Mahomes is, because he is absolutely squeezing every stinking thing out of that. He's doing everything in the world to keep that team in games, and. It
also goes to show you how hard it is to repeat, and how hard it is to do what they've done over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Chris Snead is in for Jamie and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. We'll have bowl games for you again today. 1 o'clock on 100.7 The Score. It is the Military Bowl, and the participants in the Military Bowl are Tulane and Virginia Tech. Then we'll have the Duke's Mayo Bowl at 4 today on Double T 97.3. It features a Big 12 school, West Virginia and North Carolina. So you got a little Neil Brown, Mac Brown matchup there. Okay.
Are you talking about matching wits there?
We're just matching head coaches. I don't know if they're matching any wits. And then the Cowboys crosstalk will be on at 7 tonight, and then we'll have the Texas Bowl this evening. This may actually be a pretty good bowl game. Oklahoma State and Texas A&M.
Aggies didn't ditch them.
Aggies and the Aggies.
They didn't duck them.
No, they did not duck. They did not duck them. They did not duck them.
Do you think somewhere up in NFL heaven that Pete Rozelle is smiling?
Why? Why would he be smiling?
He's going into week 17, and on both sides, he's got 12 teams still alive in the playoffs. Remember when he was like
parity?
Mm-hmm. He wanted everyone to go 8-8. And so he's got to be just looking back at this and just smiling that only 8 teams have been completely eliminated?
I'm certainly not a fan of that.
I think it's kind of cool.
Well, here
the fact that there are still scenarios where the Bears can get in the playoffs. I mean, it's kind of it's funny. There's scenarios where the Raiders can get in the playoffs. It's going to take active Congress, and they
helped themselves out this past week, certainly.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really kind of fun.
I guess I hear what you're saying, but I think the other aspect of this is it has created a lot of bad games.
Well, I don't necessarily say that. I think
you've had a lot of bad.
There's been some. I think the bad games involve bad teams, but the reality is, I mean, there's some of these games turn into pretty good. I mean, they're not marquee games. I mean, if the Falcons and the Panthers get together and it turns into a bad game. I mean, there's some bad teams.
Part of my frustration with the NFL has to go with the spreading out of the games, the Thursday night game, the Monday night game, the 2 Monday night games, your sit down kind of spend the day with the NFL on Sunday, knowing that you've got 4 to 5 games to 6 games, whatever. Being a lot of games being played at the same time means that the likelihood of getting a good game out of somebody is going to be pretty. If you just want a good game, the likelihood of getting one is pretty high. But with the way it's become all spread out, it's been a little bit hard. You got to make a conscious effort almost to watch all of them to be able to get your really, really good games or fall into it.
I see what you're saying, but what has bugged me about the NFL's new scheduling model, I don't mind the Thursday game. It doesn't bug me at all. What I do mind is now they've said, you know what, people love Thanksgiving Day. Let's give them an extra game on Thanksgiving Day. Here's the night game, because Thanksgiving Day, it's hey, you get up, your mom's making the turkey, and you watch the Lions game, then you eat the turkey, you watch the Cowboys game, and then it used to be you watch a college football game that night.
Texas and Texas A&M or something
or
like that.
Mississippi State, and then. The NFL says no. We think we want you.
I don't think I ever
more
sat
NFL.
down to watch Mississippi and Mississippi State. That is just not on my radar.
You live in a different part of the country,
right? No,
it's on the radar of a lot of people. And
I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that if you're going to talk to me about a college football game,
Texas and Texas A&M.
But
A&M,
no matter where you were in the country,
again, A&M ducked somebody, so they stopped playing that. Now the NFL says, hey, we're going to give you that night game, and now we're going to give you a Black Friday game.
Right.
I mean, were we clamoring for that?
Well, and then this past weekend, you had maybe your best game on Saturday on Peacock.
Yeah.
I mean, and so talk about frustration. I'm not a subscriber to Peacock.
Yeah, and the most frustrating thing was they kind of teased you.
Yeah,
they put that all the way. Everything was on the Sunday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and they came up, and I thought they were playing the national anthem on Sunday Night Football, and boom. Now you're gonna get some sitcom, and I mean, I wonder if the number of Peacock subscriptions that got purchased. Literally right there.
What's they're hoping for?
It's exactly what they were hoping for.
Just like the ESPN app, like ESPN Plus.
Yeah, and it was probably pretty easy for you to go over to the Peacock app, and I saw that they put the little QR code up on your TV, and you could, and probably made it real easy for you to just add it to your TV package right there. And
I did not want to watch that game that bad.
Well, I was lucky. When I was, like I said, we were in Carolina, and the lake house that we were renting. I said, And so I went down into the bedroom and I turned the TV on, and
boom, there it was.
Yeah, boom, there it was. Somehow the downstairs had Peacock, the upstairs didn't. I was like, okay.
Did you let anybody know?
Huh?
Did you let anybody know?
Me, myself, and I, man. I don't want those people in there in my room watching that game with me.
6:38 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Is anything bowl worthy for you today?
It's bowl week now, and this is, you get today we got Military Bowl, the Duke's Mayo, and then you get the Texas Bowl. You also have the Holiday Bowl today featuring Louisville and USC. And I got some buddies working that game today.
I'm sure that USC. I wonder how much they want to be there.
Caleb Williams obviously doesn't want to be there.
No, he does not.
That's going to be an interesting scenario for him because, he's one of those cats that has the option. If he doesn't like where he's drafted, just say, I think I want to go back to USC again. And USC is going to take him back with open arms, probably give him a dump truck full of NIL money to stay. And
I will tell you this. I'm a little frustrated with the Sugar Bowl time on New Year's night, although that's pretty close to the traditional Sugar Bowl time.
What is it?
7:45 kick.
That's about normal.
No, it is. I think I would have liked that game to have been a little bit earlier in the day. Just me personally. But that Sugar Bowl, that's pretty close to the Sugar Bowl traditional time.
It really is.
Yeah, it's traditionally like an 8 o'clock kick, and it was usually the Monday night crew that did that game.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
All right, let me clean up the mess on aisle 3 a little bit here.
Yeah, you spilled the soup everywhere.
No, in a way, yes, and in a way, no.
Yeah, you did.
In a way, yes, and in a way,
not in
no.
a way.
Because I was trying to explain that the Dolphins won in 73 and 74. The Cowboys won in 72. The Cowboys in the calendar year 72. The Cowboys won the Super, beat the Dolphins.
The 71 season.
71 season. In the 72 season, after the Staubach comeback against the 49ers, then they lost in the NFC Championship game to the Redskins. On New Year's Eve, 1972, 26-3, the Redskins would then go on to play the Dolphins in the Super Bowl and lost.
Yes,
and that was the Gary Yepremian, throw for the awkward,
the only touchdown the Redskins got, or we would have had our first Super Bowl shutout.
And that was a Billy Kilmer quarterback team. That was the Over the Hill Gang with George Allen.
Gosh.
And Billy Kilmer had that single bar helmet because he had also punted in his career. So, and Tony Fritsch was the field goal kicker.
Were you a fan of the single bar helmet?
And Joe Theismann also did that too.
I thought the single bar helmet was kind of cool, and being a kicker. I was always kind of.
Did you have a single bar kicker?
No, we couldn't. We couldn't have a single bar helmet, but I wanted to have. So I had to get my. You had to go buy your own face mask back then. No, wait. I didn't want the face mask they put on there for me, so I went and talked my dad into buying me a face mask. I had it painted Dad was honest. He painted it the right color. for a face mask. But it wasn't a single bar. Couldn't have a single bar. Okay. But I got one with the least amount of
Hey,
bars on
let me shift gears because I've had this question.
You never answered the question.
Which one?
Do you like the single bar?
I said yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You actually didn't say that.
Okay.
You may have thought it really
like,
loud. You didn't say it.
I think I didn't.
hear
Let me just
your-
say this. I didn't have a problem with it. I wouldn't. Only because there were just a couple of guys that did that. Kilmer did it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Joe Theismann did it.
There were a few guys that did it.
Who
were
remember this about Theismann? And I always liked Joe Theismann. I liked him as a commentator.
Joe Theismann?
Right. His name was Joe Theismann at Notre Dame, and he changed his name to rhyme with Heisman because he thought he would have a chance to. It did not work for him. It did not work out for him. But he did win a Super Bowl, and probably should have won another one. But and then broke his leg in half thanks to Lawrence Taylor on Monday Night Football, which is as gruesome injury as you'll ever see. All right, so let me ask you. This is I'm going to speak generically here, okay, on two different things, but I do have a question for you when it comes to officiating. And somebody off the Sports Yates Flooring Center chat line says this: Snead getting custom equipment since high school sounds right. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, of course you did. Of course you painted your
custom equipment. I just went down to the.
Of course you painted your face mask.
Went down.
Nobody else.
I'm going to date myself.
Painted.
I went down to the Athletic Attic. It's no longer in business, and bought me a bike face mask that didn't have as many bars as all the other ones.
Point was more that you had it painted so you could stand out and be a little bit different than everybody else.
No, I had it painted to match the rest of the team's black face masks.
Okay, well, it kind of sounded like you had.
Good gosh, like Friday. Everyone had the same. I would have stood out if I had had the gray face mask like everybody else. They're all wearing black.
I'm sorry.
So I would have stood out. So I had my dad paint it to be black.
You've kind of put yourself in this corner over the years.
I didn't put myself in that corner.
You kind of have put yourself in that corner over the years.
I did not put myself in any corner.
Yeah, you kind of have.
No, I haven't. Nobody puts Snead.
All right, here's my question for you, and this is completely no. He went third person there, didn't he? He did. He went third person there.
I went dirty dancing.
You went dirty dancing on it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I hate even asking this.
We should be.
Give me your officiating question.
Well, I've got two.
Okay.
Two. And I'm not saying
just ask your question. You are trying to divert me from something. So just ask your question the way you want to ask it.
I'm not trying to divert you from. I'm not trying to divert you from anything. You're
trying to say this in the least disparaging way about officials as you can.
No, man. See, you already got your dander up.
No dander.
Yeah, no
dander.
You got you're very defensive, and I haven't even done anything yet.
Defensive.
Let me ask you this, because in the game last night, and I'm not saying that they weren't wrong on calling the penalties. In the game last night,
which there was 3 games last night, Chuck.
Kansas and UNLV.
Okay, I didn't watch very much of that.
KU wins 49-36.
Okay.
18 penalties called in that game.
Okay.
18.
That means 18 fouls occurred.
Well, and there were like 15. I don't know how many at halftime, but it was like most of them were in the first half. My question is, do penalties become contagious sometimes?
They can. And it's usually the players that they become contagious for the players.
And so do they start to stand?
Trust me when I say this.
Do they start to stand out a little bit more, though?
No, it's not. If you're asking, do officials go looking for those things? The answer is no. Trust me when I say this. The last thing an official wants to do on every play is pull out that little yellow hanky.
Because UNLV was tagged. They were tagged 9 times, so there were 27 penalties in the ballgame last night.
All right. Here's the thing. I have said this before on this show, to you, to him, to anyone that listens.
Maybe we weren't listening when you said it.
When you throw your flag, 4 things can happen for that official. 3 of them are bad. So the only good thing that can happen when you throw that flag is you get a correct call.
And I'm not saying that they were wrong in calling the penalties. It's just my question was more, do they start to stand out more because you've called so many?
No, that doesn't work like that.
Okay.
And it also doesn't work like, we've called too many on this team. We've got to stop throwing our flags on them. No, it doesn't work like that. If there were 27 flags in the game, there were most likely 27 fouls. What were the fouls?
They were. Here's the thing. Well, the announcer she had it wrong because she said repeatedly that there were 6 or 7 personal foul calls. There were I think 4 in the game, but there were. I mean, again, a number of after the play calls that went.
Dead ball fouls.
Yeah, and there were a lot of holding calls. There were some odd calls. There were some odd penalties in the game. And again, I'm not saying they were called wrong because they weren't. It's just sometimes it just seemed like, okay, we're not that we're looking for a penalty. Okay, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying when you start calling, and it's just like, okay, then it becomes like just every play. It's like you're throwing the flag.
Here is something that most people don't think about when it comes to bowl games. One, a lot of these players have been off, haven't played their last football game for close to a month.
And you had guys playing new positions or playing a lot.
You stumbled into that one.
Yeah.
The second thing is with the number of opt-outs and the number of transfers, portal transfers, you now have a lot of people playing that didn't play a lot
significant time
during the regular season. And 3, and this is the most important thing, you get a lot of guys who are playing their very last college football game and they don't give a blank.
Or they're trying to do too much.
They don't give a blank. They're saying,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Me?
Throw me out of my next game? Because they're not playing another one. You get a lot of personal fouls in bowl games because of that reason, and that is a fact.
And for whatever reason, I think both sides were on short fuses last night.
You get a lot of guys playing their last college football game.
I mean, there was a Kansas touchdown, and then there was chippiness at the end of the play, and then a KU guy just pushes a Vegas guy from behind, and it's like, well, you got to call that. I mean, you did it right in front of the official. You've got to call that.
We say it all the time as a player. Do not put me as an official in a position to make a judgment about your actions outside of a play.
Yeah, I mean, again, not disputing them. It just became like one after another, and it was almost like, well, we're going to call penalty on every play.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's Question of the Day, brought to you by someone not named Jamie.
That whole thing got just turned around, didn't it?
Sure did.
7:45, the boom, boom, boom. Okay. All right. Who's got the question?
I do.
All right.
Even though I don't have it. I can make a question up real quick.
Well, I'd have to make one up at this point. So, rock, paper, scissors. Although, there's no way to tell who's going to win on the radio. Yeah. We would know, but no one else would know.
Okay, I want to do this here based off of a listener here on the chat line sent this question in. He said, Snead, honest question, have you ever publicly admitted that a ref blew a call, or are you required to stay quiet? One, contractually, I'm not allowed to criticize officials. That's, okay. And in the officials code, you just don't do it.
Is that an official contract, or is that just kind of an unwritten rule?
Yes.
Now, he has said he's blown a call before. I have heard him say a couple of times that he's missed a call.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more concerned if you said you'd never blown one than if you had
every
blown
official
one.
would tell you they've blown one. But here's the thing. People say, man, you officials are really arrogant, and you really, you guys, gosh, you such big egos. I'll ask you this question. Do you want a guy with a big ego calling the last pitch of the World Series? Or do you want a real timid guy? Or do you want so like the high strike on the Diamondbacks that's ended the World Series? Do you want a timid guy calling that, or do you want a big ego guy calling that?
I really hadn't thought about it like that. Is that the question you're asking us?
I think it just became the question. Question of the day. Do you want your officials to be big ego guys, or do you want them to be timid, weak?
Well, I don't want them to be. I don't want them to be weak. I don't know that I want them to be. I don't know that every official can be.
Do you want your official to have the gumption?
What was that guy's name? Ron Luciano.
Do you want your official to have the gumption to throw a flag to call back a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
Sure. I don't know if that makes him have a big ego or not. I think that makes him have more of a strong commitment to doing the right thing. I wouldn't necessarily equate that with ego. I would more equate that with he truly doesn't know what the score is, or is truly indifferent. Is how I would view that. I don't know that ego plays into that. Maybe it does, Jeff.
I want them to have the ego to get the call right and confident in their call. But when I think of an official having an ego problem, is when it's the personal thing between them and a player or them and a manager after the play is over, and after several more plays are over and we're still having that fight, I guess is the way to put it. That's when the ego becomes the problem. I've never had a problem with the guy behind the play going, ha ha! And he's got, doing karate moves back there. Sign me up. I'm in. It doesn't bother me at all.
I feel like
the concept that, and we've seen it in Major League Baseball. I don't know that I've seen it as much in the NFL or in college football, but I know we've seen it where we had a problem with this guy last year and it's still being held over from last year.
I feel like
it's more of a baseball thing than it is in football or basketball, but it's definitely a thing.
I think we have more of a little man syndrome in Major League Baseball than we do in any of the other sports. I think the umpires have a tendency to take it out on players and managers more in Major League Baseball than in the NFL, college football, and I think there's some of that in college basketball just because of the nature of the sport being right there on, and maybe that's part of it with Major League Baseball too. It just seems like the umpires make it more about them in baseball than any other sport.
That's an interesting. See, it's an interesting take because when you say they make it about them, I would tell you this, just from an officiating standpoint, very, 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 very few officials want to make it about them.
I think we see that in Major League Baseball all the time.
I think sometimes officials get pushed into that corner.
It seems like their fuse is much shorter in Major League Baseball than it is in other sports.
I think there's probably some truth to that.
And I think Major League Baseball in general has put managers, players, and umpires in that arena, so to speak, because of the no arguing balls and strikes, because it's a hard and fast rule now. If you argue balls and strikes, you're tossed.
Yeah.
As opposed to giving them the opportunity to have that argument back and forth. And now you don't. There's no wiggle room at all.
Well,
like you can't argue a call in Major League Baseball like you can in the NFL, or you can in college football, or you can in college basketball.
Well, the reason why the umpires didn't ask for that to happen. You know who asked for that to happen?
Probably the Major League Baseball teams.
No.
The managers.
No.
Who?
Television.
Why?
Arguments take a long time.
I get so tired of that.
Arguments take a long time. When you have guys going out and it takes away from the action. TV
depends on who's going out there. If it's Lou Piniella, there's more action going on there than there in the game.
It takes away from what's already a slow-paced game. Television didn't want long, drawn-out arguments over balls and strikes.
That's interesting.
Somebody says this here. Officials have also been off for a month. Do they get rusty? Absolutely. Absolutely. Any official worth his salt in postseason, from the time that they get off, if they haven't gone and worked a couple of teams' practices, then they've done themselves and the game a disservice.
Hey, one last thought for you on this kind of officiating realm. I just want your opinion on this, yes or no. Do you think college basketball officials should be allowed to officiate back-to-back home games for the same team?
I think that would probably cause some trouble. I know where you're going with that, but it probably.
We've seen that a number of times with the Lady Raiders this year already. A couple of times where you've had the same official, the same officials back-to-back games.
It might be a logistical thing, just based on where they are at the time and how the schedule lines up.
Maybe so, but I would think that they could do a better job of that because there is some hangover. There has been some hangover from previous games.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Chris Snead is in for Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. You know, every time I hear that, I think about when we had your dad on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And your dad's laughing about how you would sit in the corner with your peanut butter.
That was something I did. I was also 4. Okay,
I know, but
it's not. I mean, I just spent the weekend with my 4-year-old granddaughter, and I could probably laugh at some of the things she did.
Yeah. I guess I misspoke when I said football practice facilities. It's football office building whatever they're calling that thing now. It's going to be the Womble. It's going to be the Womble football building, whatever.
It's not whatever.
I don't know the official name of it.
I don't think it's been dubbed anything yet.
I think it's the Womble football building, football facility. Anyway, the bottom line is it's going to be. They're tearing down the one that they built in what? Oh man,
10 years ago. Roughly 10 years ago. 12 years ago.
Yeah, it was about.
It's not that old.
No, it's not.
It's not that old.
07, 06, right in there.
I think it's still pretty shiny.
Still pretty shiny. Yeah. Still pretty
I mean, I think.
And they had redone it a number of times.
The football building that we're tearing down right now. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong? Younger than Cowboy Stadium?
Oh yeah.
Younger than Cowboy Stadium?
Thinking out loud. No, I don't think that's right.
No?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
I mean,
it's pretty close.
I mean, if you know the answer to that, somebody... And you know, the fact that we're tearing down a building that potentially is younger than Cowboy Stadium to build a bigger, newer, shinier one?
Right.
That's good.
That is good.
That's a good thing.
That's good. I mean, just think about this. They're really ballyhooing what they're doing in Lawrence to Memorial Stadium, in which now they have torn out the west side stands, okay? And they're tearing out the north end bowl, okay? And there is talk up there about not being able to play home games at KU this year because of construction. And they're talking about this transformation, okay, that they're spending, I don't know, let's just say it's $280 million. Let's just say it's 280, okay? And you're spending here $250 for your south end zone.
Yeah.
And we're talking about almost all of their stadium.
Well, yeah.
For $250, roughly.
You know, now you talk about that and then you perspectivize it. I just invented a word right there. You change the perspective on that and think about what we've spent in baseball and what some other places are spending in baseball.
Yeah, well.
You know, now I know baseball's in line. It's going to get its time, and it's in line. But, boy, I tell you what, when you hear, you know, we spent $14 million and got ourselves a new clubhouse, which is spectacular. Got a tour of that last week. Oh, my gosh.
I guess my point was that what you're investing in your south end zone, another school in your conference is investing in its stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's the point I was getting at. What we invested, you know, we invested $14 million in our clubhouse, and that's beautiful. But there's, you know, Oklahoma State just built an $80 million stadium. It's like, yeah.
It's kind of but I mean, just the massive scale of what's being done over there, and what that entrance is going to look like on the southeast corner where the students go in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's spectacular. It is spectacular.
It is.
I mean,
it's
going to
be the whole thing over there is going to be just a palace.
It's going to be massive. I just hope we don't put the Big 12 flagpoles in front of the building again. That just really irritated me.
Okay.
Because I go to these other schools. I go to these other schools and I don't see Texas Tech flags out in front of their buildings.
I mean,
so why should we have the other Big 12 schools in front of our building?
You know what? I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, I've been highly
irritated by that for a number of years.
I know it is everly apparent that it irritates you. And I just have gotten to the point where that's just not something that I'm going to build an outrage factory over.
Well,
I mean, if all the things that I could be upset about at Texas Tech, the fact that we've got the flags of the other schools in the conference
in front of our building.
I
just don't like it.
I mean, for years, we had the Southwest Conference little things in front of the football building in front of the athletic department for years.
I know.
We had the Southwest Conference circle over there.
I know. Well, it's one thing to have that, but in the other, flags.
No, wait. What's one thing to have that and then have flags over there? You can't, if you don't want flags here, you can't want that there.
Well, I wouldn't have cared for that there either. I just didn't.
We rebuilt it.
I know. I never liked the flags flying in front of fly your own damn flag. Don't fly somebody else's flag.
Okay. I mean,
it's not neutral. It's not the UN. Okay. It's not like we've got to be representative of every country in the world.
Okay.
We're us.
I don't feel the need to be. Outraged over it.
Well, and the other thing is, can you imagine how this town would react if we said, Jones Stadium's not going to be available. We're going to go play our football games over in
at Lowry, Plains Capital Park.
Something along those lines.
You know, it's kind of funny because remember last time Oklahoma State came here, the bus driver took them over to Plains Capital Park.
Is that right?
And they pulled up there, and I am as serious as a heart attack right now. They pulled up to Plains Capital Park. The bus driver, I guess, didn't realize that there's a bigger stadium down the street. Can you imagine?
Were they staying at the hotel right by there or something?
Oh man, that was funny. And they were actually late because they showed up to the wrong stadium.
Oh my God, that's so
maybe
funny.
2 times ago that we're here. They were here.
Paul says this, I like the Big 12 flags. I remember when you guys had the Big 12 schools above your head. What? We never had the Big 12 schools above our head.
Up there?
Yeah, no.
I don't think that happened.
No.
I don't know. I'm not in charge of decoration of this.
That banner above our heads has not changed since I've worked here.
Yeah. Syntax Hank says this, life is wrong when KU ends up 9-4 and Tech is 7-6. Sad times on the plains. Good morning, gents.
You know what? At the end of the day,
I mean, if you look at the non-conference schedule for both,
let's trade schedules and let's see how that goes.
So, I mean, peel back the onion just a little bit on that.
Yeah,
and you'll see that there's a substantial
difference. If we get to trade Oregon for Missouri State, and
Wyoming
for whatever tomato can that they played,
and there were 3 tomato cans.
Yeah.
There.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.